All right, we got a couple minutes here.
He's giving you the thumbs up to go.
All right, well, I gotta wait 30 seconds. It's not quite 5:30 yet, but 20 seconds. I'm looking at your clock right in front of you. Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item we have is assignment for request for council action. For the Finance Committee, we have several. 22-194 CHIP grant rehab payment, 172 Normandy Drive, Brunswick. 22-195 budget amendments. 22-196 repayment of overcharge to hospital. 22-197 donate use Mitel phones to county sheriff's office. Mitel phones. 22-198 donate used PCs to Manistee City Schools. 22-199 create new internal service fund for IT and related issues. 22-200 purchase of 2023 Ford F-150 for the parks. 22-201 modify ED and marketing manager job descriptions. 22-202 expenditure over $15,000 to C&J Noble Construction. 22-203 grant application urban canopy restoration grant program. 22-204 RFPs for drug screening and related professional services. 22-205 ODOT consent legislation bridge inspection program, and 22-206 expenditure for Catman Co. Inc. Rotunda Flooring ARPA. Next item is 22-194 CHIP private rehab 172 Normandy Drive. Barbara?
This is probably our last rehab project for the 2020 CHIP grant. As you can see, it's a fairly large project at 172 Normandy Drive in Brunswick. And so it's before you to be approved.
Any questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22-195, we have budget amendments. We have 22-027 miscellaneous ARPA fuel increases.
Most of this is the fuel increases we talked about at the last meeting. Obviously, fuel's up, so these are the adjustments to cover the expenditures in excess of what we budgeted for, and then the ARPA grant second tranche of money came in.
Very good. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22-196 repayment of overcharge to the hospital. Keith, this is you.
Yep. It came to our attention, I think a couple weeks ago now, that the hospital had been overcharged on their sanitation pickups. We had removed a can, or 3 dumpsters, which Nino could give you the details on that if you want that, a number of years ago, and that information didn't work its way through to the billing side. So they were overbilled, and the total is $344,265. We spoke with the hospital, Nino and I did, and they agreed to a little over half. Now it's half plus the change, and then the rest in 2 payments, a quarter in August of next year and a quarter in August of the year after.
Keith? Nino?
Thank you. I want to thank Keith for his time and Vanita and a lot of his folks trying to dig into this. So the backstory is back in 1999, the hospital was serviced with 3 6-yard containers. Denny was probably there. He remembers being around there. Well, in 2010, the hospital, Medina Hospital time, bought a compactor because it was more efficient, could handle their load. So these 3 dumpsters got pulled in 2010. Field superintendent, we have a card. They were able to find the card where he actually said, we're removing these. And in that, while we investigated, that either didn't translate to the office up here and into finance. So the bill for $2,308, I think, kept getting billed from 2010, March 30th to be exact, until a couple weeks ago. And that added up to the amount that Keith quoted here, $344,000. Now, on their side, the hospital, they never questioned it. They questioned it internally, spoke to several of their facility managers, and he asked internally within the Cleveland Clinic, what's this for? And they didn't call over here. They didn't call service. They didn't call finance. And we're not placing blame there. Service is responsible for that because it was an error from the field to the office, and it didn't transfer and translate. And so here we are, but we're grateful that they're willing to accept half, and then in 2 years, a quarter and a quarter. So that's the explanation there.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22-197, donate use, is it my telephones to Medina County Sheriff's Office? Sergeant Zaremba?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, this is just a donation of our old phone system. I was reached out to about a month ago when we moved to our new hosted solution by the Sheriff's Department, and they were requesting, they have this old phone system that's antiquated and outdated. You can't really get this hardware anymore. So when they found out we were going to have some left over, they had asked if we could help them out.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Paul?
thank you. So does that mean that soon the Sheriff's Department's going to be in the same position we were in?
Yes, as a
So
matter
they
of
should-
fact, it's
you're
funny you
gonna
asked that.
Advise them to update their system soon?
This is going to get them through, they just did a bid with a hosted phone solution, different vendor, but they just did that. So this
Okay.
is going to get them by until they get their new system in
Okay,
place.
because we want somebody to answer when we call.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 22-198, donate used PCs to Medina City Schools. Sergeant?
We're looking to donate 16 computers over to the schools. They're our partner under our current MOU, and they use these things exclusively in the labs and throughout the school's network. They go through turnover, high rate with the amount of volume they have there.
Mr. Shields?
I'm going to have Mr. Rose make the motion. I'm going to abstain since it's my employer.
Move to approve?
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries. 22-189, create a new internal service fund for the IT department. Who starts this off? Keith?
I'll start. Thank you, Mr. President. This is creating an internal service fund, but there's a number of other parts mechanically that need to be done to make this work. For council's knowledge, this is what we already do with mechanics, is we would follow basically the same format. We have mechanics, they're paid as a internal, what's called an internal service fund, which is they're paid out of the mechanics fund, then that's billed back to whatever vehicles they're working on. In the case of mechanics, we do it based on hours, but that's a lot more feasible for mechanics because they're mostly working on very large projects, so it's not terribly difficult for them to track their time because they're working on something for a day or a week or something like that. IT, they do a lot of 5-minute things and 15-minute things, and if they were trying to track their hours, I think they'd spend more time tracking their hours than they'd spend working on computers. So rather than that, what I suggested was that we just count up the number of computers that we have, and then we subsequently added tablets after some discussion after that, tablets at a reduced rate. And then each department will just be billed monthly based on their total number of computers that they have. And the IT department will then be funded by that. So the mechanics that we're asking for here are creation of a new position, IT director, and then that's going to be held open so long as Sergeant Zaremba remains with the police department, and then he will act in that position. We determined that what the police department pays to Sergeant Zaremba is about the same as what they would pay based on the fees that we're suggesting. So for the time being, the police department will just not pay the fee. They'll pay Darren's salary, and he'll continue to operate in the position that he's been operating in. But there will be a position created so that when Darren leaves, we have a position that we're ready to fill of an IT director. This is the second position of an IT tech. The creation of a new internal service fund. We have to request permission from the Auditor of State's office to create that fund. The setting of the rate, which you can see I laid out what it is there, and I have to tell you, we're going to talk about this budget at a future budget meeting. Darren came up with what these numbers are probably going to be, but I want everybody to know, this isn't like a normal budget where we have years of history to look at. We're guessing at what these expenditures are going to be. We have some idea, but we're obviously have to make a lot of guesses since it's all new. The budget's attached. We'll talk about that at a budget meeting. I'm also going to ask for an advance because we're going to actually start spending money in December, assuming that this goes through based on when the IT tech will switch over. And even if we didn't start till January, we won't be billing till the end of the month, and we'll have expenditures before that. So we're going to need an advance to cover, just to basically get this thing up and running. And then the projected cost of the departments is there attached, so we'll need to do, and I'm suggesting that we just approve that as one adjustment, and we do that and apply it to all of those for the 5-year plan for the IT department. And then I guess that's all the introduction. Whatever questions you have, let me know.
Well, my only question is on the structure of this and forming a new department that's going to be treated like the mechanics fund. Currently, these various departments, they pay for some of these services, or don't they? I think, I'm trying to figure out, is this gonna be like a new appropriation for each of these departments, or is it just gonna be a reallocation of funds the way they were spending it one way, now that it's gonna be allocated a different way?
It's going to be a new appropriation for most of these funds, because we've been getting this service in part from the school as a exchange of services agreement, which the individual departments weren't paying for.
And is it gonna come from the income tax allocations? Because some of the funds get their revenue from the income taxes, well, the general fund gets it from, I guess it'll all be income tax, because we're not gonna use any other type of fees or something that come in to pay the IT department from various.
Well, but there will be some, though, like we have, with some of the grants, we're allowed to charge administrative fees. And so, I mean, this is part of administration, and I guess that's one of the advantages of an internal service fund, is we have an established method of charging that out. And we will be charging this to the enterprise funds, because we have some water computers, some sanitation computers, et cetera. So there will be some that are not income tax, but it'll hit everybody.
Right, and there's some that are enterprise too, that we're
Right.
gonna have to cover. Okay.
Just-
Sorry?
Just to speak to a little bit of the history is for those that aren't aware. So we did enter an MOU years ago with the schools, and we traded the school resource officers for an IT technician. And there's a McDAC funding that was mixed in here. That McDAC funding changed in the last year. And ethically, it doesn't make sense for the school to continue to pay for an IT person. So we started to move this direction that we had to do something. If we add secondary to that, I'm part of this drop program. I've got 5.5 years maximum that I can stay. We want to try to create a IT department that can sustain for the future. That's the idea, is we don't want to walk away and then there's nothing here. So the combination of those things started this conversation, and we met with Mr. Rose and the mayor and Keith. Keith worked up the numbers of it, but that's how the whole thing initiated for those that either didn't remember how we've been doing business or what's changed.
So I guess the other question is, I mean, I know the schools, the schools have their own IT person too. I mean, how is this gonna correlate with that? Are we still gonna try to work together, or is it just totally?
The MOU is not gonna be in place anymore, where we get an IT person for free from the schools.
Understood.
So that's the big change. Are we going to be partners with them? Absolutely. I mean, we'll help them out, they'll help us, but from that big
But
piece of the funding
there'll be no
puzzle,
funding anymore from the
there'll be
school.
no more funding in that essence from the schools.
But we also use for the servers and the programming, TGOH,
TEGOH, yeah, at the schools.
which is shared by the schools, and there's some abilities and efficiencies of us buying the equipment together, using the same services, and supporting one another. So
I was just
that
wondering if
happens
the
day to
IT
day.
person we're gonna have in this department is gonna be working at the schools that are assisting in their computers, or is it just totally separate now?
No, the full-time person of the school has always been here along with Darren. So we've had 2 full-time people. If that person from the schools here vacated, took a week vacation, was off sick for a couple days, whatever, the schools would send a second person over. So then they were paying both for the person on vacation as well as the one filling in for him. And when it came to light that the McDAC monies couldn't be paid to the schools, we felt it appropriate to correct this.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So the budgets are gonna change.
That will change the budgets for the departments. And the other thing we need to mention, the intention will be to hire the current IT tech, who is through the school. That's not official until we create the position and go through the process of hiring him, but obviously he is familiar with the city's systems and so on. We do want to ask, he won't be changing jobs. He'll still be going to the same place for work, he'll still be doing the same thing, but technically it's a new job, so he starts with no vacation time, and if there's something we could do to get him some time so he's able to have some time available.
He wants vacation too?
I thought that's what you'd say, so.
All right, Mayor?
Just one more thing. So as you'll hear in the State of the City here shortly, the income tax collection is up over 50% of where it was a decade ago. So that being said, every percent that each department gets of the income tax, there is some extra money in there that could cover some of these. I'm not saying it'll cover everything, but we'll do our best to live within the budget.
Well, I guess the question is, I mean, the income tax is great, but then we have the other enterprise funds. And the only way that we're gonna make up the difference there is you have to raise the rates, or, you know, something has to happen to make that shortfall up, so. Any other questions on it? I mean, it makes sense. We have to have an IT person. I think we're in the computer age, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, while we're on the subject of vacations, when you or Justin are away, how are we going to backfill?
So what generally we do is we don't allow that to happen. One of us
Okay,
is
so
here.
one at vacation at a time?
Yeah, and if there is a small overlap, a day or two, we have coverage with TEGOH and Harvey's team.
Okay.
Because that
all right.
happens very rarely, but the
Okay,
goal
so-
is we
But we do
offset.
have a tertiary.
Yep.
If needed. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? All right,
Move to approve.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, all right. 22-200, purchase of a 2023 Ford F-150 for the parks. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. As you just mentioned, this is a purchase of 2023 Ford F-150 to replace a 2009 GMC truck that was identified for replacement through our 2022 budgeting process. It's extremely hard to get any sort of vehicles right now, and I stumbled across a pre-build request opportunity through Sourcewell. We turned in a quote request for that, and our order, the quote was selected for production. I was notified by Ford that production is going to be 8 to 10 weeks, and I have to submit a purchase order by September 27th, or the order will be released to another entity. We right now have one truck that's out of service and another one that's very close to being out of service. And we're in desperate need of a new vehicle in the Parks Department.
Is this vehicle not a take-home vehicle, or is it a take-home vehicle?
This is not, this is replacing a unit, as I said, a 2009 GMC truck that will be driven by our staff.
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22-201, modify the ED and marketing manager job description. So, Kimberly, who's handling this?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is to make modifications to our economic development and marketing manager positions to better reflect the work and tasks associated with this position. The driving item on this is if you look on the proposed changes, the very first bullet point is assisting with application and administration of state and federal grants, including compilation of grant application materials, monitoring reports, and budgets for multiple departments. So this used to be somewhat of a minor task for this position, and over the past couple of years, this has really moved up to being more of a prominent daily function of this position, especially since we've had COVID, CARES Act, and now we have the ARPA funding, which, as you know, is federal funds that have a lot of reporting requirements and monitoring requirements associated with that, as well as a lot of the capital bill grants that we're chasing down, and then it just assisting other departments. So it's not just economic development grants, it's really grant funding, writing, and assisting for the entire city. So we felt that this is more of a prominent function of this position. Some of the other changes are somewhat cleanup changes, and then we've removed a few items. For example, if you look further down towards the end, like contacting businesses to schedule BRE visits, we've taken that out. Assisting all departments with press releases and promotional articles has been reworded and moved up into the further up in the essential job function area. Managing BRE visitations for retail and services, we took that out. Where we have assist in preparation of project budgets for state and federal economic development programs, we combined that with the first bullet point with the grants. And then we also, let's see, there was another one. Attend and document all the ribbon cutting ceremonies for using the city camera, and then creating, or basically providing all those photos to the businesses. Right now, we're creating DVDs, but we'll probably modify that into a more technology, user-friendly way to transfer the pictures. The other item that moved up was the preparing of press releases and photographs for all of the departments at the department head's request and the mayor safety director requests. So this like helps cover all the city awards, new hires, promotions, and all the other city news. So what we tried to do is modify this to reflect more of what's happening currently in the department.
The only question I have is, how does this affect your budget?
How does it affect the, we're going to talk about that on Wednesday.
I know, I already reviewed it, so I just want to see what your answer would be. So
This
we could-
is just kind of like peeking behind the curtain right now.
Yes, it sure is. I peeked. So I know.
I knew that you would, but, so could we save the budget discussion for Wednesday?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
There's a change in there too, so I just want how this correlates.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? I understand the change in the job description.
Yeah.
Anybody have a question?
Nope.
Move to approve.
Good job. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22-202, expenditures to C&J Noble Construction for a chip rehab. Barbara?
Yes, this request is just for finance. Because of the size of the dollar amount of the contract, it couldn't go to Border Control. So this is a request for finance approval of this contract. Plus, this is a new vendor. So you'd be approving both the contract and the vendor.
Okay, any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22-203, grant application for urban canopy restoration grant. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. We were made aware of an opportunity through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to apply for an urban canopy restoration grant, funding projects, I believe, from $5,000 to $25,000. And there's a relatively short deadline to get information back to ODNR, as we've experienced this in the past. So we have put together a project for the spring. This would be a spring tree planting project, which we typically do anyways. But we're going to focus our planting efforts in LMI area as well as Ray Mellert Park so that we can strengthen our application to get funding. Our city arborist will be working with Barbara to help complete the application. We're looking to plant around 50 trees and have some in-kind cost as well to cover our staff's time installing those trees. We're also asking for permission for Mayor Hanwell to be authorized to accept the grant and enter into agreement with the ODNR for implementation and administration. Thank you.
Questions?
He's requesting.
Go ahead.
The emergency clause is requested because the application deadline is October 14th.
Move to,
You're going to be able to get 50 trees for $7,500?
Yeah, we should. We buy them from a wholesale nursery.
Okay.
And then we also are going to have some in-kind costs, as I mentioned, with our staff's labor, our equipment. So if the cost of the trees go up, we just have to spend at least 50%. So if we spend more, it's not an issue. We typically plant around $10,000 worth of trees in the spring anyways.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
move to approve with emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22-204, RFPs on drug screening and related services. Who's doing this one, Mayor?
Yes, sir. This is our annual request for proposals that we do each year to give each of the each of the services that provide this in the city the opportunity to bid on this.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 22-205, ODOT consent legislation for the bridge inspection program. Patrick?
Thank you. We're required by law to inspect all of our roadway bridges every year. We used to do it ourselves by hiring a consultant. In 2014, ODOT started offering this service to municipalities with a population under 50,000. We started that program back then. We've renewed it several times. This will be the renewal for next year, 2023. For some reason that I can't explain, this time it's just for a one-year program. They hope to go back to the three-year renewal in 2024. We are asking for the emergency clause. We received this notification last Tuesday, and they would like it to be returned to them before the end of the month.
They must not understand how the process works.
I don't think so.
Any questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 22-206, expenditure for Catman Co. Inc. Rotunda Flooring ARPA funds. Mr. Pacoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as the request states, this will be the last phase of our rotunda renovation project here. The floor has been more than challenging over the years. They're talking about the perimeter with the tile floor. I was always under the impression it was terrazzo floor, but it's this gentleman who owns Catman explained that it's terracotta, and it's a soft tile. However, it's penetrable. So the items that folks put on it over the years penetrated deep into it. So it's going to require a grinding and a polishing. So this does qualify for an ARPA project, and we're hopeful that we can get it done by the end of the year. He did commit to doing a small area in one of the foyers, the vestibules, to see what it comes out like. But I wanted to get him on a schedule. This gentleman is the same company that built the wall behind you. They do good work. They're good to work with, and he works all over the country. So that's why this request is before you.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, there's no other items to come before finance, but we do have a request for an executive session.
I will make a motion at 5:58 PM to go into executive session to prepare for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation and other terms and conditions of their employment.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
To include the mayor and Greg. I'm sorry, I'm doing my motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll be recessing into executive session to discuss the collective bargaining information that Mr. Shields mentioned. We'll be returning back to finance to adjourn finance, moving into council, and we will be taking no action of any item discussed in executive session. We are in recess.